Let's look at how stress is holding you back. In this video, I'm going to cover 3 different areas around stress. First off, I'm going to define for you what I'm referring to as stress. Second, I'm going to talk about how stress is holding you back. And third, I'm going to talk about what peak performance actually looks like when you understand stress more deeply for yourself, as well as the cultures you work in. So number 1, what is stress? The reason I start here is a little personal to me. Throughout all the years that I worked, if somebody were to ask me if I was stressed, I would rarely ever have said yes. I was really busy and I actually was very stressed out. But in my head, I thought of stress as being like a light switch. Either I was stressed, and in my head, that meant I was completely taken out somehow, or I wasn't stressed. So when people would ask me if I was stressed, I'd be like, no, of course not. I'm just doing what a lawyer does. Or insert whatever profession you are. So I want to redefine for you how I actually define stress and what stress really is inside of your body and your mind and your psyche. The first thing to know is stress is not a light switch. It's not on and you're completely taken out or off. It's an accumulation. I actually think of it more like a pressure cooker. The more pressure that builds up in a pressure cooker, the more pressure there is, really, until you get to the point where you just have to really relieve it. If you're not watching out for the amount of pressure in your pressure cooker inside of yourself, you're going to get to the point where you do flip completely on and you're completely in a stress state and you have to release the pressure in your pressure cooker. So think of that as an analogy for stress. Now let me go into what I define as stress. 2 different parts to this. The first part is actual stress coming through your body receptors. And that happens in 3 different ways. Your actual physical body, your emotional centers, and your mind. Physical body, what I'm getting to here, is what's coming through your physical body. And there's a lot of information that's coming through your physical body up into your emotional centers, then your mental processing. You could think of it as you being cold and maybe even shivering. That's adding stress to your physical body. You could think of it as a stubbed toe and you can feel it throughout your day. And know that, yeah, you stubbed your toe in the morning and it might even be black and blue and healing. Or it could even be actual pain. Like maybe you've had a recent hip injury or knee injury or shoulder injury. I've had one of those before and I could feel that throughout my day. Everything I've described to you so far are all stressors in your body. And once again, I started on the smaller end and I went to an accumulation where it was like big pain in your body. The second area is your emotional intake of stress. So what I'm talking about here is anything from you just having a reaction to something somebody has said, or even a reaction to the news of something that's going on, and you're like, oh my gosh, that person's crazy. Like, why is the world the way it is? That's having an emotional reaction. To one that's more personal, you get feedback from somebody, a relationship, or something at work, and they say something where you're like, oh, did I not do a good enough job? Or did I not uphold their standards? Could even be bigger where it's a relationship, maybe somebody has passed and you're grieving, or a relationship has ended and you're grieving that relationship ending. Those are all emotional stressors. And the third category is mental. And mental is the information that you're taking in. Mental stressors can be as small as not being able to get your spreadsheet to add up. You're off by that dollar and you can't figure out where the mistake was made. All the way up to the stressor of thinking that your business is not going to work out. You don't have enough money in the bank to support your family. Or you're worried about what's to come next. Which gets me to another aspect of stress. Stress isn't only about what's coming through your body, that it inherently is taking in whether you're thinking about it or not. Your body is taking in information. There's also stressors, or what I call samskaras, from your past. And these are recollections, impressions, and past experiences that you've had that stay within you. They somehow didn't make you feel all that great, and you're walking around like having these still in you. An example could be if you ever lost your job. Well, if you get a new job and you have leaders say to you like, actually, could you refine this a little bit? You may notice immediately that your body starts to tense up. You start thinking like, oh my goodness, did I do this wrong? Are they not happy with the way I'm working? Am I going to lose this job? And the reason your body is doing this is your defense mechanisms are going up because you feel you're under threat that you could possibly lose your job again. And it's all arising because you lost your job at some point in the past. Now that's just one example. There's hundreds and thousands of examples I could give you about these samskaras, these past recollections that stay within us that have not been fully processed. You didn't process them fully in the moment, and they're hanging out, just waiting for little things of what people say, situations, events, happenings in your life to re-trigger them and bring them back to the surface. And most of the time you don't even know that they're coming up, unless you're very aware about how things come through your body, emotions, and mind. So let's talk about how this is all holding you back, especially when it comes to being the leader that you are in your team and culture. So the interesting thing about stress is the more accumulation of stress through any of those ways I previously described will cause you to go into what's called fight, flight, or freeze. Your nervous system responds and believes it's under attack. A threat is coming after you when you go into fight, flight, or freeze. Originally, humans had this response mechanism inside of them back in the day when tigers might have been chasing us, right? There's a tiger in the grass. It could come and attack us. So fight, flight, or freeze would kick in to make sure that we stayed safe. And I'm doing the fight or the running flight. I'm doing the flight one right now with my actions. And maybe you stay to fight or you freeze and just hope that animal, that tiger's not going to get you. The interesting thing is there's not many tigers that are coming to attack us anymore, but our body maintains this threat response. And how it's activated most often is through the stressors that you're going through, either through your emotional, physical body, mental, or these past samskaras that'll bring them up. The example I just gave you, where if you ever lost your job and then a leader provides some sort of feedback and you internally take it like, oh my goodness, like, am I going to lose my job? You instantly go into a threat response. And that threat response is either a fight, flight, or freeze. There can also be a fourth one called fawn. Fight is you might defend yourself. And when you get feedback back from that boss, you're going to go right back to him and be like, yeah. No, actually, and you're going to push you back and try to argue your position. Flight might be that you take it and then you get out of that room. Like you're trying to get out of that room as fast as possible. Freeze, you may go into a numbing state and it's like, and there's really no feedback coming from you at all back to that leader. And the fawn is you actually go and double down on trying to please the person. Like, oh, thank you so much for that feedback. Like almost like this mothering instinct to try to overwhelm them with the amount of care you can give back. Here's the deal and why this impacts and holds you back. Is when you're in fight, flight, or freeze, you have to understand what that's actually doing inside of your body. In this state, your nervous system kicks in and causes and tells the areas of your body to go from normal functioning into only driving forward. Your heart rate gets your heart beating faster. You're able to run or jump higher and longer or faster than you ever have before. Your body basically goes into a siphoned way of moving you forward. You don't have full functioning of your entire body and especially your logical mind. It actually shuts down and just goes into responding to keep you alive, which is interesting when you think of that in a work environment. Because what's really happening is when you're under threat or you perceive you're under threat, and most of the time this happens without you being able to logically realize it, you take yourself away from your logical mind that can do the best processing for you and problem solving. So let me give you an example here to really understand this. Because when you really understand this, you'll understand what peak performance actually looks like. If you've ever given yourself the cue that you work better under pressure, I'm here to tell you that's actually false. The more pressure and stress you put on yourself, the more you enter into fight, flight, or freeze. And the reason you think you perform a lot better under pressure is because your body and your mind actually get so laser focused that you can just take care of tasks on that laser focused strategy that you already have in place. That works really well if you instinctually know all of the next steps to take to be able to get the result you're looking for. Like, it's instinctual, it's embodied, you've done it so many times that you can keep doing it over and over again. But the problem that may happen is if a problem is inserted into the middle of that instinctual knowledge, you will have a harder time understanding how to overcome that problem because you are in a state of fight, flight, or freeze, and your logical brain is not fully on board. Peak performance looks very different when you're a leader in a leadership role, and one of the things you're prized with is moving your company forward, understanding that you don't know exactly how you're going to get there. It's unknown. It is not instinctual knowledge. And the second piece is you have to problem solve all the time as a leader. You're in a new position and you have to learn to problem solve inherently with what's coming at you next, that you have no idea what's going to come. It takes you out of your instinctual knowledge and puts you in a place where you have to learn to creatively and innovatively problem solve. You require your full logical mind to be on board in these moments, which means you have to learn how to relax, bring your stress levels down so you can process information in a creative and innovative way. Not only should you be learning this, how to do this for yourself, but doing it within the team that you're working with is such a game changer when you learn how to do this, because you understand how you can access a level of creativity you and or your team has never accessed before. Because here's the tip. Creativity and innovation is born in relaxed states. It's born in giving spaciousness so you can think up new ideas and ways to problem solve, because how you move forward is not hidden in what you've already gone through in the past. It's new. The other piece is having deep connections and transparency. Connection with others and being able to talk to them openly about your stressors to help bring them down, and or your team stressors to bring them down, and enter into this space of creativity and innovation allows you to once again be a game changer. But you have to understand how connection and the type of connection that triggers that activates that within you and the team. Because I'm not talking about going and having beers after work. I'm talking about speaking and communicating in a way that alleviates or brings stress levels down in relationships. It creates synergy and harmony over conflict. And the more synergy and harmony that you can create within your own self and within your team lowers your stress levels to once again be able to access its creativity and innovation. This is how you really become a game player in your organization and reach peak performance. That performing stage, if you've taken the 5 stages of a team development. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope this has educated you more on what stress is, how it's holding you back, and how you can access your own peak performance. If If you have any questions on this video, I'd love to hear from you. Just shoot me an email or respond back, and I'll get back to you and take them all in and create more content for you from your questions.